Nago pisanga poete Ozala wangai Pulagi Adesite Nakopala yo Anamu Adesite Yoza wangai All my life I've been looking for someone like you, my darling. Since I met you, I just can't get you out of my mind. I've never felt so in love before. But please tell me if you feel the same as I do. Mawana haipona kayo Sota sikunyana kukacha kuna yo baby Mutema mabanzo nangaya sana yo Nakupenda sana
Reviens à moi, on va danser.
8 minutes after 10 p.m. Central African time. Helping us kickstart off the show was Monique Tende, and that one titled Nalingi Yo, an expression of love taking us to Central Africa. If you've just joined us, welcome to it. Heartlines with Sheila Ndikumana, and I keep you company for the next 2 hours. A big thank you has to go out to Tsebiso Makwetla, keeping you abreast with all things news happening in and across the various continents. Welcome to Heartlines. Thank you so much for choosing us over the rest. DSTV's 802 is what you tuned into, if not 6 to 8 on OpenView HD. Now, today promises to be a rather fruitful end to the day, and I say this because firstly, if you are based in much colder regions during this time, the month of June, the month of July and August, then perhaps you want to lend your ear to one of the conversations. And then we celebrate the youth, because in South Africa it is officially Youth Month. So in the very first hour of the show, we have an opportunity to look at these top 16 youth-owned brands, and this is a platform built to honor legacy, to celebrate innovation, and to amplify youth voices. Now, outside this, we will have a conversation on travel and why Limpopo in South Africa is the place to be with their latest tourism initiative. And so we are going to be finding out what this 2025 winter campaign is about. I know it's a bold move to position Limpopo as the province of two summers. Now, that is not an unfamiliar context in the African continent, but we'll let you know why specifically one ought to travel to South Africa, specifically Limpopo, in the second hour of the show. If you want to participate in the conversations that lie ahead of us, find us on WhatsApp +27 6340 69126. If not, find us on X at Channel Africa 1, on Facebook at Channel Africa Radio rather. And lastly, I want to encourage you, if you've been to Limpopo and perhaps you want to post or you want to share with us snippets of your experiences in Limpopo, specifically in the winter time, please tag us at Channel Africa now, at Channel Africa 1 rather. For now, let's get back into the music.
Hey guys, question. Have you thought about what happens between 9 o'clock until midday, Saturday and Sunday? Well, it's me. Those that know me call me the fun police, and I'm that girl, that voice on your radio. My name is Pule Mulebati. I'm all about the finer things in life, where to go, what to wear, who to see, and ultimately what to do. We aspire to bring you the best in travel, entertainment, with a dash or maybe a dose of laughter. And then of course we switch things up a bit when we look at technology. I love what's happening with AI, because you blink, something new pops up. So the challenge is constantly there. I'm learning every single time on the show. So catch me every single Saturday and Sunday at 9 a.m. until 12 midday Central African Time, Baba.
Love music, love culture, love life. Because you on Channel Africa, the African perspective.
Are you feeling good about yourself? Made me the fool in front of everybody else. Are you happy with the way things are? Now that you played me like a bass guitar, I am ready. I'm ready to be free. Try it like I be. Was it why you pull out in cheesy? Got on gag and giggles on there. No. Fuzzy and gag and giggle in the cellar. I am ready. I'm ready to be free.
It is 15 minutes after 10 p.m. Central African Time. I am Bama, and this one titled Free. Very interesting. Rather a breakup song, whereas our quote states the following. The only thing we never get enough of is love, and the only thing we never give enough of is love. If you have just joined us, welcome to it. This is Heartlines. Sheila Ndikumana keeping you company, and I'm with you all the way through to midnight in Central African Time. Whilst you deal with that little conundrum of a situation where people are looking forward to breaking up, whereas certain quotes by Henry Miller state that the one thing we cannot get enough of and cannot give enough of is love. You then kind of wonder, how does this happen during a breakup? Listen, that's for you to think on. I want to get in the very first conversation, and I want us to talk about what's going to be happening very soon as we celebrate some 16 brilliant minds. And I'm looking forward to this conversation because I believe that, in all honesty, it's one thing to celebrate entrepreneurship, it's another to celebrate young minds who have invested time and space and, I suppose, effort and progress and success in the realms of entrepreneurship. In its fourth powerful year, the Top 16 Youth-Owned Brands Awards continues to champion the entrepreneurship space of Africa's youth. Now, with the 2025 finalists now announced, this unique platform remains the only one of its kind on the continent, dedicated solely to recognizing, empowering, and celebrating young brand creators, rooted in the legacy of the June 16 and in the spirit of the African child. This particular award, the Youth-Owned Brands Award, honors innovation, grit, and transformation, all led by the youth. Now, as we look ahead to the main event, we sit down with Pat Mahlangu, the visionary founder behind Yoba, and we're going to be unpacking the journey, the evolution of these awards, and the inspiring brands lighting up Africa's future. Joining us on the line this evening is Pat Mahlangu. Thank you so much for joining us, and welcome to Heartlines.
Good evening to you, and good evening to the listeners. Thank you so much for having me.
Firstly, congratulations on the 4th annual Youth-Owned Brands Awards. This must be, I think, one of the most successful of its kind, because firstly, it's the only one of its kind in the African continent, and you're now running for 4 years. How does that feel?
I must say, I mean, I have mixed feelings, because on one hand, it hasn't been an easy journey.
Yeah.
It's been tough. I feel bruised and battered, But on the other, I'm very proud, of what was an idea and I've now, brought to life, and it's impacting a lot of young people in a positive way. So, to be honest, it's a mixed bag, but more than anything, I am proud.
Pat, you said bruised, battered. Listen, I pulled back, because yes, we're celebrating, but also that's a real statement, right? Perhaps let's reflect on those moments. What proved to be very challenging during these past 4 years?
I guess in the main, it's one thing. I mean, I, for one, I'm still in that category of youth, which to a large degree it means that I have very limited resources to put this kind of a thing to life and to sustain it, And I mean, believe it or not, more than anything, the investment, or one would say, the majority of it came from my own pocket, to sustain it and to keep it running. So from that front, yes, those are some of the challenges. I mean, to mobilize resources, to make sure it comes to life. And one would think that 4 years in, things would get easier, or things are easier. And believe me, they are not. It's almost like, every year you have to prove yourself as an African child that you can build something of this nature and you can keep it running. And also you can execute it, with excellence and style. I think for the past, 4 years or 3 years now, 4 years now, managed to keep it running. I mean, every show gets better. The standard, is extremely high that we set ourselves. I went to an award show recently for in our industry, and when we got there, big venue, you can see that they're well resourced, but I didn't have a chair or a table where I could sit, or that was allocated to me. You know, and I'm like, this would never happen at my event. you know, at the US, this will never happen because we put so much pressure on ourselves. And when you see, such gaps, one can also pat themselves on the back and say, we are right up there, irrespective of the limited resources that we operate with. We are still able to deliver at the highest standard.
Sure. That's really interesting that you make mention of that. Quite the mouthful in terms of you articulating the challenges. But something that stood out for me is this fight to own excellence as an African child, something that one would liken to the protests of the Soweto uprising in 1976, which is what you have founded, or what the premise or inception point for this award ceremony is. Talk to me about where the inspiration came from. One can easily say, Youth Month, okay, youth celebrations, but it isn't necessarily that. There's a deeper meaning, no?
No, I mean, absolutely. I started the year was out of my two passions. One is branding and marketing. I'm deeply passionate about the industry that I find myself operating in. I even call myself a brandpreneur because if you look at all my entrepreneurship endeavors revolve around building brands, growing brands, and crafting brands. Then on the other, I'm also very passionate about youth development. I'm a product of I want to say great mentors. I'm a first generation graduate. In my family, I'm a first generation sort of entrepreneur to operate at this scale and in this fashion. But in the main, I had really great mentors that molded me, that guided me in my journey, and for me to be where I am today. And hence, I am lifting as I am rising. And this drive to lift as I rise, I remember one of my mentors. Came from one of my mentors who said, Pat, and they contributed immensely in my journey. And then I asked them, like, how do I thank you? And I said, you don't owe me anything, but if you can do this to other young people who are coming up, I'll be forever be grateful for that. And that really, stuck with me, and I was really sort of deeply humbled. And hence, one of my principles in business, whatever I do, I always try by all means, to bring in other young people up with me as I rise. So just to summarize my answer, my passion for marketing and branding, and also developing the youth, the next generation, is what really brought this the Yovas to life.
Pat, let's talk about the importance of awards. I think for the most part, we've sort of, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, right? Because this is just a personal opinion. We have, to an extent, watered down the importance of an award, right? There are quite a number of award ceremonies across the continent. And yes, this does specifically recognize the youth. However, what is the importance of an accolade? What does the accolade say for you in a room? How does it speak for you in places where you can't step foot into as yet?
Yeah, one of my beliefs is that, recognition can be the greatest motivation, particularly for young people. And also to be recognized, amongst your peers, amongst your competitors. It really, goes a long way. We are also living in an era. I was chatting to someone a couple of weeks ago, and they're just telling the story of how we live in an era where, even in schools, there's prizes for 10th place, which indirectly, does promote mediocrity to a certain degree, because people no longer strive to be excellent in what they do to get recognized. And that's why, if you look at the structure of the Yobas, you'd recognize that there's no prize for number two. Only the best in that particular category gets to win the prize. So yes, some may say, but it may be, and I've had it, before, where other people say, but if they, it may be discouraging for other people. Maybe give them a consolation prize or anything like that. And I mean, our positioning is so clear, that we are the gold standard of youth excellence. Meaning that this is, in our view, and it will take time, and we may already be there, that we want every young person in this continent that starts a business and wants to turn it into a brand, aspires to win a Yoba one day. So if we are the gold standard of youth excellence, it can't just be any person that wins a Yoba. It has to be someone who's demonstrating excellence in their industry, in their field, and they're going above and beyond, to really show up as a brand. And someone would ask the question, why brand is so important. If you look at countries like the United States, whether you like them or not at this very moment, if you look at China, that's able to stand up against the US, to a large extent, even Europe, where they stand economically and their global influence, it's in the main, it's the brands that come from those countries and regions. So brands play a very significant role in terms of, not only economically, but the overall image, of a particular country and a continent. And we believe that, one of my mentors is that Dr. Terek Alafeng, and he often says, for Africa to rise, it must not blame the past, blame colonialism. It must not beg, ask for aid and freebies. It must not borrow, and get itself into debt. But it must brand. It must brand, because brands are what pays the taxes. If you look in any economy, the biggest taxpayers are brands. And if brands are paying taxes, it means that our hospitals will be functional, our roads, will be taken care of, our kids will go to schools, and the list goes on. So brands play a very significant role. So if you are a young person and you receive a Yoba, you're not receiving a Yoba because you just started a business, but you've built a brand that's making an impact. And you can look at the list of the previous winners as well that we have. And what I really like, or what really encourages me to even carry on doing this kind of work, and it's almost as if, and I always tell my friends, when we talk about business, and sometimes we talk about the challenges that we face as young people who are building brands in this continent, it's just around the notion of, that we're not getting enough support from the older generation, and I always say I have hope in my generation, in my peers, because if you think about it, and I know some people may not like this, particularly in the South African context, my generation are the first sort of real entrepreneurs at scale, right? Yes, you look at the previous generation that was disadvantaged. They couldn't obviously start businesses because of the apartheid rule, and they're discriminated against, and you couldn't even have an office in town as a black entrepreneur. We recognize that fact. But then when we got into freedom, what happened is that obviously with the transformation agenda of government, then BE was created. But even today, there's a big debate whether BE is working, simply because it benefited a few people who then didn't start the businesses from scratch, who just got equity, and all of a sudden, because of their proximity to political, to the ruling party, and then they were able to become businessmen overnight and amass a lot of money, in a very short space of time. So now with our generation, we are coming in, starting things from scratch, building brands from scratch. I mean, it's unthinkable for some, even the older generation, to see a young person like Yobalo building, the most admired apparel brand according to the 2025 Brand Africa report. Batu is the most admired apparel brand in Africa. It's unthinkable that Tsepo Jeans can start, a business out of his passion for denim and make it an empire and create employment for other, not only young people, even for older people that work at his establishment. So it's unthinkable that a young boy from Hammanskraal would start a company called Delivery Speed with bicycles, and today has a fleet of close to 50 vans and mini trucks that transports and delivers goods into the townships, where big companies actually see as high risk and they don't want to enter in those spaces. So that's what this platform recognizes. That's why we exist, to say to those kinds of people, to say we see you, keep doing what you're doing. We have a lady called Bona by Wenzi who turned her love for spectacles and started a brand, and that is so loved and it's worn by many people. So there's so many examples of young people starting from where they are with what they have and building strong competitive brands. And that's why I say, with my generation, I have hope, because we know what it takes to build. We know how it feels like come month end, and you don't have the money to pay salaries, and you have to make calls, and you have to take an overdraft with the bank and pay your suppliers and your employees. We know how it's like not to draw a salary at the end of the month. So if you compare this, what we go through, and those that just acquire shares in big companies, they don't know how it's like. I mean, already those facilities are already set up. All they want is dividends at the end of the year, and that will be it.
Sure. The voice of visionary and founder behind Yoba, that is Youth Owned Brands Awards, Top 16 Youth Owned Brands Awards, and we are going to be seeing who of this lot. I know that the nominees list has been put out. I believe this was put out late last month, and we're yet to see who the winners for this year are. And so we are chatting to Pat Mahlangu, again the visionary and founder of Yoba. Pat, there's quite a bit that you've said there. I want us to bring clarity and definition and sort of gauge what brand means. Because when you say brand, one could assume business, which isn't necessarily the same thing, right?
Excuse me. Absolutely. I would say there's a fundamental difference between a business and a brand. And business is more your day-to-day transactional activities that you do. When you're building brand, you're playing the long-term game. It's all about building a meaningful connection with your customers. It's all about sustaining that which you do. And some say brand is a promise. If you look at Checker 6060 within a South African context, it says we'll deliver to you to your doorstep in 60 minutes. If you fail, then delivery is on us, just to make sure that we don't lose you as a customer. So I'd say a brand is a feeling. Coca-Cola, for example, has always been telling us that when you open a can of Coke, you're opening up a happiness. A brand is a perception. that you create and the associations that you want people to make when they see certain elements of your brand. And we all know that you cannot build a brand overnight. Great brands are built over time, and hence I want to make the point that when you're building a brand, when you're playing in the branding space, you're playing for long term, and that's what we should all be striving for.
But Pat, think of TikTok. Right, let me play devil's advocate for 2 seconds. Think of TikTok. Yeah. TikTok has managed to turn people who are unknown into the most well-known, if you will, celebrity-like, even superseding celebrities, because they have become names in the homestead. When somebody calls you by first name in their household and everyone knows who they're talking about. You have outdone what most brands are fighting for over the past 20, 30 years. And so because we have this accelerated platforms such as TikTok, can we really say that it is the long game, given that we are living in the era of the influencer?
Yeah, great example in terms of what TikTok has managed to do for many people. But also, again, you can tell, when someone is just an overnight sensation or is a brand. Also, there have been a lot of people, I'm not sure if you remember, there's been those, I'm not sure you remember that group of girls when that song, John Vulligate, was trending. I'm not sure if you're familiar with them, and they were dancing with the vodka bottles. If I were to ask you the question, do you know where they are today? Do you remember their names? Who were they? Or you just remember the video that trended, and yes, that got them some attention, and they were all over the show. They got booked once or twice, and off they went.
But
then again, if you look at one of the biggest TikTokers, I forget his name, but he's the guy that he has the biggest TikTok account, but he never said a word. That guy that makes hand gestures.
Yes. From West Africa.
Is Kobe Lame. So I think that's his name. I'm still able to remember him because he's been able to consistently over the years continue doing what he does best. So yes, luck can visit you and you trend overnight, but if you're not anchored in proper branding principles, your fame will not translate into anything meaningful in the long run. So some of the people that you remember today, they have applied the principles of branding. That's why they're able to stand the test of time. Yes, it's easy to trend, and sometimes I often ask myself, I'm like, oh, I see this video, it's been used many times, I see this person, but what is the commercial value to it?
Sure.
Because right now we've passed the stage where if your video went viral, potentially that could change your life. But now every other video can go viral. So even with brands that maybe want to work with you, the chances are very slim. Let's look at the boys. I'm not sure if you're following the story. I was quite invested in their journey. The boys that cycled from Begasfort to Cape Town over 1,500 kilometers. If anything, those boys, I saw a post last week. They visited some dairy factory. They're still, topical, and people are looking. But what those boys took us on was a journey, and they told a story. And there's a big reason why they were doing what they're doing. Which, again, brands that are able to stand the test of time are those that are anchored in a particular purpose. And that's why the whole nation somewhat rallied behind those boys. They wanted them to succeed because they had a goal that was bigger than them. That's why we supported them. But if one's goal is just to trend, then you might trend. Then the question is, so what? And you can see the difference.
So what if you trend? I love you adding that element of commercialization. What's the profit of your trend? What can we see? What can we suss from you being that meme or that video that everybody's using, or that voice clip that everybody is using? Let's talk about the makings of a brand, Pat. I think you started off by saying to us that a brand is that has that's consistent, that has purpose. It's a feeling, right? So these three things sound very lovely to the ear. But for somebody who's looking to start a business and is saying, I don't know how to connect what it is I want to do for a living to the realities of a brand, let's probably bring it closer to home. Let's define the key elements of a brand.
Yeah. So you have the tangibles and the intangibles elements of a brand. From a tangibility perspective, you have the obvious stuff. Your logo, the things that you can see, the sound, the colors, the fonts, if I say pa-da-pa-pa-pa, what comes to mind?
Absolutely. We are not going to make mention of brands, but I know, I hear you.
Absolutely. So those are some of the elements of branding that have been sort of consistently applied. When I mentioned the color yellow, when I mentioned the color red, which brands come to mind? That's why you're able to build the associations, between a certain element and with the color.
Yeah.
Right. Then we look at the intangibles. Where now we look at sort of the feeling, the emotions, that comes with a particular brand. Which, in my view, that's where it's sort of most challenging for many people, because it's easy to come up with the color, with the font, with the slogan, and with the particular sound, that people can see. But now, how do you then build a meaningful emotional connection with your customers? How do you then build the association with what you do? And that's what becomes the challenge. If you look at in the luxury space, if you look at the luxury brand space in terms of how everything about those the brands, particularly if you look at the fashion industry, is well thought out. From the packaging, from the store layout, when you walk out or when you walk in, the smell, the types of words they use when they engage with you. You're not buying an expensive bag. You are acquiring. That bag is not just an item; it's an investment. So those are the things that then, when you play in the brand space, you think about every touch point. When someone engages with us, has to be consistent with how we want to position ourselves in the market. In the main, I'd say it depends in the space and the industry that you are playing in, and how do you then package yourself. And of course, in the main, it's the story that sells. Storytelling. It's one of those concepts one would say it's mostly used, or it's loosely used, but great brands are anchored in a story. And what I like about stories is that every brand has a unique story. Why I do what I do, and how and why you do what you do is completely different. We can be in the same industry, but our motivations can be different, and that's our superpower, if you think about it. And if you tap into that, then you'll be able to build a meaningful connection with the consumer.
And when you look at the landscape of the African continent, particularly the African youth, and you look at these bright minds. I mean, you've interacted with some of them over the past four years. What would you say is our biggest arsenal at this point, at this juncture, where creativity flows, where attention spans are growing shorter, where people are thinking of more creative ways to capture people? What do you think is our biggest win right now?
I'd say the ingenuity of young Africans. You know, I'm always in awe of what some of these young people are doing, and some of them, like, obviously some are younger than me. You know, and the things that they doing, I'm like, damn. When I was your age, I wasn't thinking about this. I didn't have the appetite, the risk appetite that you have.
Yeah.
I mean, this one particular youngster. He's now 25, you know, and already he's got like 4 stores. He's got a product range and is employing close to 50 people. I'm like, when I was your age, I wasn't playing in that space, you know. So the ingenuity of these young people really is what oftentimes, you know, surprises me, but also energizes me, you know, in a way that, you know, if you've got a lot of young people that are thinking in this manner, that are so energized, that are irrespective of where they come from, and most of them, I can tell you, they come from, for lack of a better phrase, from nothing. You know, they are first generation entrepreneurs in their families, like me. You know, they grew up in rural areas, they grew up in townships, you know, where there's little to no inspiration around them, but then they're able to, you know, build something of value. And as they're building, you know, their businesses and their brands, you know, they lifting others as they are rising, and that for me really, you know, energizes me. And I always say to people, even sometimes when I speak to people in corporates, you know, I have an hypothesis that, you know, any young person today that leaves university, that leaves college, you know, and wants to enter the workforce, stands a far better chance of getting employment at a youth-owned business than at a big corporate or government institution. The big corporates do not have capacity to create jobs. Actually, what they're thinking about is how do they reduce jobs, or the number of people that they can employ. Government, we all know, is incapable of creating job opportunities. So where there's big opportunities amongst the youth-owned businesses, I've got lived experiences. Because the thing is, with us as youth entrepreneurs, you know, we can take in someone who's not qualified, and we have the patience to train them, and after a year they become attractive to the big corporates, you know, and so they go. And at some point, I remember I used to be, you know, kind of bitter that, you know, I take in all these graduates fresh out of varsity, they are inexperienced, and I have to train them, and after a year or two they leave for bigger and better opportunities. But then I started to shift my perception of the challenge, you know, the attention challenge that I had in my business, to say, actually, I'm a conduit, you know, for these young people to go through so that they can reach their full potential elsewhere. So if we want to solve the youth unemployment, then we need to relook at youth entrepreneurship. You know, how do we support young people? And unfortunately, in this country, also there's this, and this is also a conversation I have with my peers. There's an obsession with everything, every problem. It needs to be dealt with from a theoretical perspective, not from a practical one. Oh, we want to empower youth entrepreneurs. Oh, let's do training for them. Let's put them in a class. And entrepreneurship is not like that. Entrepreneurship is like mathematics. You get better at it by practicing, not by reading the numbers and cram. And it doesn't work like that. So that for me, it's one of the challenges that again we need to relook at in terms of how do we empower or cultivate the soul, for young entrepreneurs to thrive. If, for example, they're operating in the B2B space, what's the average payment term, in corporate? It's 60 days. So how does a youth-owned business that's starting out carry the weight of paying their suppliers and their employees whilst waiting for payment for 60 days? And this is a person that's starting with nothing and from nothing. So, but then you say you want to empower entrepreneurship. So, youth entrepreneurs. So there needs to be a way how young entrepreneurs are dealt with, and this now speaks to obviously the role that government and corporate need to play. I'm told those of stories before, obviously the times that we find ourselves in, where if you're working with government and you're a tender, you didn't get money upfront to do the work. But we all know how that went down, and obviously now we are, as young people, we bear the brunt of those that did not execute, and again it's those that walked the path before us. But we cut from a different cloth. We are in entrepreneurship for most parts by choice. We are some of us. I will talk about myself. I've got a master's degree. I could have a decent job in a big corporate, but the burning desire that I have to make a difference in society is what sort of propelled me to go down this path.
Yeah.
But then again, we need support. I need support, to be able to reach greater heights.
Pat, let's reel this conversation back to the main objective, and that's looking at the Top 16 Youth-Owned Brands Awards. And I say this because you raised quite a few points there that I would have loved to have thrashed out with you. The realities of funding, the inability for government to make employment possible. I mean, listen, there's quite a few things that you said. I was like, woo, we could talk about this all day. But unfortunately, we're here to speak on this award that's coming up. Tell us about the date, where will it be showcased, and what are some of the categories?
Yeah, so obviously, I guess when we celebrate these young, excellent brands, these are brands that have went through what I've just mentioned, but in the main, the awards are taking place on the 21st of June in Sandton, where we'll be celebrating obviously brands across 16 categories, ranging from apparel, media, agriculture, technology, travel and tourism, services, homeware, so we were very deliberate in terms of also how we curated the categories. We looked at sectors that we know young people are active in and are making an impact. So those are in the main the categories that we have. And as with every show, the standard is high. I always say at the Yobas we only have one standard, and that standard is excellence. So if you want to experience youth excellence, you are welcome to join us. Tickets are on sale on www.top16yoba.africa, top16yoba.africa, and you can purchase your tickets there and then join in celebrating the gold standard of youth excellence in Africa. We always bring out the show, and if I may highlight, if you look at, for example, in our supply chain as well as a platform, we always prioritize youth-owned businesses. Our trophies are not from China. Not that I have anything against China. They are,
Pat.
they were designed and manufactured here in South Africa by a young black industrial designer. Our technical team, it's youth-owned businesses, our photographers, videographers, the staff that you're going to be interacting with as you're at the event, those young people, that we employ. I always say the only thing that we can, unfortunately, there isn't a youth-owned venue that can accommodate us, in that area. But I hope one day that will be the case, and we would support that particular venue. So when you buy into the Yoba, when you support the Yobas, you are supporting an entire value chain of youth-owned businesses.
Pat, and lastly, this year you have extended the awards to include Pan-African categories. What inspired that?
Yeah, so I mean, if you look at our calendar again, June 16, yes, it has a lot of one would say meaning within a South African context, but many people actually are not aware that actually even the African Union declared the June 16 as the Day of an African Child, and this was obviously after the June 16 Soweto uprising. So again, Africa is a young continent. I mean, the median age of an African is 19 years. So I mean, it is estimated that by 2030, 40% of the global youth population will be in Africa. So if we turn a blind eye on Africa, I mean, we are literally, shooting ourselves in the foot, not only from a growth perspective, but I mean, the challenges that young South Africans face today are not different from what a young Nigerian or young Kenyan or young Congolese face in their particular countries. So we also, all for the intra-Africa trade. We want to collaborate with other young. We want our community to collaborate with the rest of the continent so that Africa can rise. So it just makes sense for us to invite participation from the rest of the continent. And our dream is to have the Yobas in Kenya, in Nigeria, in Congo, in Ethiopia. So we are also playing in the long-term game, and we want to bring Africa together.
Brand Yoba, I see. Okay. All right, Pat. Thank you so much for joining us this evening. We appreciate what it is you're doing. Moreover, I believe that this call, this drive to not only exude African excellence, but also remind Africans that they are excellent is one of that will mark, honestly, I think, and make history. I think it will mark its space in its time, and a good 100 years from now, when we're reflecting on the growth of the African continent, not just brand Africa, but the success of the African continent, your name will be on one of those walls. Thank you so much for joining us this evening.
Thank you for the kind words, and thank you for the platform.
The voice of visionary founder behind Yobas, that is the Top 16 Youth-Owned Black Brands Awards. That is the voice of Pat Mahlangu joining us this evening. If you had questions for Pat, you need to head over to yoba.africa to put out your questions. You can find them on social media as well. They are youth-owned, youth-led, and honestly looking to celebrate the youth. But what I find really beautiful is that the youth don't stay the youth. They eventually grow. And I think that's what we need to bear in mind, is that this is not just a focus on the young ones. This is the focus on the future of the African continent. And if you have that in focus, I think you will learn to appreciate both the now and tomorrow. With that being said, back into the music. When we get back, we will be looking at traveling to Limpopo.
Africa's very own think tank. This is Channel Africa Online. www.channelafrica.co.za. Heartlines, 10 p.m. to midnight Central African Time with Sheila Ndikumana. Get Channel Africa on DSTV Audio Bouquet. Channel 802 on OpenView's Audio Bouquet. Channel 628. Africa is a story, a living, breathing, ever-evolving masterpiece. And for over 5 decades now, one voice has told it like no other. Channel Africa. More than just a broadcaster, Channel Africa is the pulse of the continent, African-led, African-run, and deeply rooted in its heritage. It's the only international station that speaks to Africa in its own voices: English, Kiswahili, Chinyanja, French, and Portuguese. The languages that unite 1 billion people. We have been there through every shift, every milestone, and every triumph. Not just reporting history, but shaping the conversations that define Africa's future. For brands, media planning, and advertisers, Channel Africa is more than just a platform. It's an opportunity. With 25 compelling shows covering current affairs, sports, business, music, and lifestyle, we deliver an engaging Pan-African audience ready to connect, invest, and act. Multi-award winning, internationally recognized, digitally accessible across the globe. When Africa speaks, the world listens, and Channel Africa makes sure of it. For business, for culture, for Africa, partner with Channel Africa, because Africa's voice is the future. Africa is a story, a living, breathing, ever-evolving masterpiece. And for over 5 decades now, one voice has told it like no other.
And no one is around.
Africa has a voice, and that voice is Channel Africa. It keeps you in motion, speaking, singing, questioning, rising. Wake up with Rise and Shine 6 till 9. Peter and Asanda, as they bring you breaking news, sharp analysis, and the voices that shape the day. At mid-morning, we get on the move with Palisa and Benjamin, digging into the African lifestyle, people, and the things that make Africa smile. 12 till 1, Africa Update with Lulu Kabu, getting in-depth, powerful stories, and the perspective you won't hear anywhere else. The Upside, 1 till 4, live and real, with Tepu Kholikweleni and Nompumelelo Ngubeni. Tame Ngubeni talks money, Africa in business, 4 till 5 p.m. 5 till 6, we put on a little bit more color. Vue d'Afrique with Joël Moteba. We go to East and Central Africa and find Darubinia Africa with I Am Shakif. Madapiri gives us some life. Zochitika, 7 till 8 p.m. Maria Mokumalo comes in 8 till 9. We get some Lucifer knowledge. Kalodiscopia. 9 till 10. We take a look in Africa and beyond. Africa World Hour with Sipiso Makwetla. And we close it up with some love. The Heartlines with Sheila Ndikumana. 10 till 12 p.m. on Channel Africa. Across borders, across time zones. On air, online. This is Channel Africa. Africa has a voice, and that voice is Channel Africa.
For there is fire on the mountain, yeah, yeah, and there is nobody, oh, there is fire on the mountain, and no one is around it. So yeah, there is fire.
9 minutes after 11 p.m. Central African Time. Trips all the way to Nigeria. She's based in the US of A. Her name is Asha, and this one is titled Fire on the Mountain. Before that, Ernesto Jeje comes in with Zuzu Ballet. If you've just joined us, welcome to it. Heartlines with Sheila Ndikumana. We are in the second hour of the show, and we're about to get into a riveting conversation that involves the CEO of Limpopo Tourism Agency. This is Mr. Moses Ngubeni, who discussed with us the launch, the much anticipated winter campaign, which is in none other than the iconic Kruger National Park. Now, for those who are thinking, but Sheila, why would I travel during winter? It's cold. Perhaps you're based in the Free State of South Africa, or you're based in the Western Cape, and you're saying, listen, I love my city, I love my province, or you're based somewhere else in the African continent, and you're thinking to yourself, why need I leave my comfort, my surroundings, my settings in what is known as winter across the globe, or rather across the African continent, for this place called Limpopo in South Africa. I want you to have a listen to this conversation. This, of course, just highlighting the reason as to why travel in the winter is one that we can all appreciate, not just as South Africa, but as Africans as well.
So we're shining the spotlight on a destination that truly warms the soul, not just with its sunshine, but with its culture, natural beauty, and exciting new developments in the space of tourism here in South Africa. Joining us now is a man at the heart of it all, the CEO of the Limpopo Tourism Agency, Mr. Moses Ngubeni. Under his leadership, the agency has been able to, of course, launch its anticipated winter campaign in none other than the iconic Kruger National Park, right here in the Limpopo province in South Africa, fondly known as the province of two summers, okay, with an average winter temperature still soaring at 25 degrees. Limpopo is positioned or has positioned itself as the warm winter getaway for both local and international tourists. So if you're looking to leave wherever you are in the world or wherever you are in the African region, come to Limpopo. It's that simple. We're here to unpack with him what this campaign that they've been working on means for the province, for tourism, and of course for travelers everywhere. Mr. Ngubeni, welcome to Heartlines. Welcome to Channel Africa. A pleasure to have you on the show with us.
No, thanks very much, and to all the listeners. I mean, we're bringing them good news for this winter.
Absolutely. I think tourism is always good news. I want us to start with the big picture in terms of just the vision behind the Limpopo Tourism Agency, particularly with the winter campaign, what inspired the theme Province of Two Summers?
Yeah, no, I mean, we pride ourselves as Africa's Eden, because when you look at Limpopo, you get everything that you need. But in terms of tourism, this summer, I mean, this winter that we have just entered now, we are priding ourselves because a lot of our parts are warmer. I mean, on the 30th, when we launched the winter campaign, when the Honorable MEC unveiled, the packages that the tourism industry has put together in Kruger. It started at 28 degrees and it ended up at 31 degrees just that Friday. So it shows you, and it goes also into the evening. So if people are looking for a place where they can do a game drive in the evening or in the morning without necessarily coughing or catching flu, Limpopo is the place to be. If you want to do those activities of hiking, into the beautiful mountains of either Serala or Volkberg or Lechalametsi, seeing those areas which are catchment areas, for water that we drink in Limpopo, but without being chilly or feeling cold, come to Limpopo. If you want to experience, you want to have events, you want to come and enjoy an outdoor event, come to Limpopo. If you want to do quad biking in the beautiful area of the Volkberg Mountain, you come to Limpopo during these winters. People that have not finalized their holidays, Limpopo is the best place to be, and it's affordable as well.
Thank you so much, actually, for just painting sort of a picture of what we can do, what we can experience. And I think because our program here carries so many themes of love, this is encouraging a love for touring, a love for activity, a love for the outdoors. I'm interested to find out about the launch and it taking place at the world-renowned Kruger National Park. Why was this particular location chosen, and how does it tie in with Limpopo's tourism strategy?
When you look at the world's renowned Kruger National Park, which, by the way, is part of the Greater Limpopo Transfrontier Park, it's part of us saying, come to this haven for wildlife. And enjoy, in the whole of Kruger, that starts down in Bechendal or Malelan until to Pafuri Gate. the only place where you get the Elephant Museum, it's in Letaba, which is the part of Limpopo, and it's en route to the within the Greater Limpopo Transfrontier Park into the Do Limpopo in Mozambique. So if you want to come and experience wildlife, birds, seeing the biome, some other people who are studying trees, who want to know the different trees, or you want to come and watch birds, that part of the area is the best place. So, but we chose it because it has got pleasant winter weather, that people can come and enjoy. And that is the reason why we chose it. But also, if you go to the Kruger during this time, it's the best time to watch animals. I mean, on Friday, when we went there with the media, the only animal that we did not see was a leopard. But we managed to see the big 4 out of the big 5. Plus, in Limpopo, we are saying we've got the big 6 because of the baobab tree. I mean, if you want to see the baobab tree in South Africa, you come to Limpopo. In the north, whether inside Kruger or outside Kruger, that's where you can experience, the best baobab trees, and which are huge. So that is the reason why we chose that park, that part of the world to launch our winter campaign.
Heartlines. Your late night window into Africa's deep conversations.
Makambo mingi Bola mukabana mboka Mabele tika bakoko Bana fika bokeba Bola muka Afrika Liberté Bola muka Afrika Zimbabwe Ipanda tozuwe Kumbeli biso ebele ya makambo mingi Bola mukabana mboka Mabele tika bakoko Bana fika bokeba Nazani nanga boye binzembo mwana Afrika Makasi nanga na benga na munguna Sena nzembo na beta miziki na swambongo ngana somba kanoe na benga na munguna ona Zimbabwe bana Afrika bapema mabele
Africa has a voice, and that voice is Channel Africa. It keeps you in motion, speaking, singing, questioning, rising. Wake up with Rise and Shine 6 till 9. Peter and Asanda as they bring you breaking news, sharp analysis, and the voices that shape the day. At mid-morning, we get on the move with Palisa and Benjamin, digging into the African lifestyle, people, and the things that make Africa smile. 12 till 1, Africa Update with Lulu Kabu, getting in-depth, powerful stories, and the perspective you won't hear anywhere else. The Upside, 1 till 4, live and real, with Tepuho Likweleni and Nompumelelo Ngubeni. Tame Ngubeni talks money, Africa in business, 4 till 5 p.m. 5 till 6, we put on a little bit more color. Vue d'Afrique with Joel Moteba. We go to East and Central Africa and find Darubinia Africa with I Am Shakif. Madapiri gives us some life. Zochitika, 7 till 8 p.m. Maria Mokumalo comes in 8 till 9. We get some Lucifer knowledge. Kalodiscopia. 9 till 10. We take a look in Africa and beyond. Africa World Hour with Sipiso Makwetla. And we close it up with some love. The Heartlines with Sheila Ndikumana, 10 till 12 p.m. on Channel Africa. Across borders, across time zones, on air, online. This is Channel Africa. Africa has a voice, and that voice is Channel Africa. It keeps you in motion, speaking, singing, questioning, rising. Wake up with Rise and Shine 6 till 9. Peter and Asanda as they bring you breaking news, sharp analysis, and the voices that shape the day. At mid-morning, we get on the move with Palisa and Benjamin, digging into the African lifestyle, people, and the things that make Africa smile. 12 till 1, Africa Update with Lulu Kabu, getting in-depth, powerful stories, and the perspective you won't hear anywhere else. The Upside, 1 till 4, live and real, with Tepuho Likweleni and Nompumelelo Ngubeni. Tame Ngubeni talks money, Africa in business, 4 till 5 p.m. 5 till 6, we put on a little bit more color. Vue d'Afrique with Joël Moteba. We go to East and Central Africa and find Darubinia Africa with I Am Shakif. Madapiri gives us some life. Zochitika, 7 till 8 p.m. Maria Mokumalo comes in 8 till 9. We get some Lucifer knowledge. Kalodiscopia. 9 till 10. We take a look in Africa and beyond. Africa World Hour with Sipiso Makwetla. And we close it up with some love. The Heartlines with Sheila Ndikumana. 10 till 12 p.m. on Channel Africa. Across borders, across time zones, on air, online. This is Channel Africa. Africa has a voice, and that voice is Channel Africa. It keeps you in motion, speaking, singing, questioning, rising. Wake up with Rise and Shine 6 till 9. Peter and Asanda as they bring you breaking news, sharp analysis, and the voices that shape the day. At mid-morning, we get on the move with Palisa and Benjamin, digging into the African lifestyle, people, and the things that make Africa smile. 12 till 1, Africa Update with Lulu Kabu, getting in-depth, powerful stories, and the perspective you won't hear anywhere else. The Upside, 1 till 4, live and real, with Tepuho Likweleni and Nompumelelo Ngubeni. Tame Ngubeni talks money, Africa in business, 4 till 5 p.m. 5 till 6, we put on a little bit more color. Vue d'Afrique with Joël Moteba. We go to East and Central Africa and find Darubinia Africa with I Am Shakif. Madapiri gives us some life. Zochitika, 7 till 8 p.m. Maria Mokumalo comes in 8 till 9. We get some Lucifer knowledge.
Liberté.
24 minutes after 11 p.m. Central African Time, Sam Mangwanana and that one titled Chimurenga, Zimbabwe. Taking us to the southern region of our beautiful African continent, we are still reflecting on a conversation with the CEO of Limpopo Tourism Agency. This is Mr. Moses Ngubeni.
If you've just started listening, this is us having a conversation with the CEO of the Limpopo Tourism Agency. Limpopo, Mr. Ngubeni, offers unique all-year-round experiences. So beyond the season, there's so much that one can experience. And you mentioned just some of the wonderful activities, but just beyond the season, if I'm looking at coming after September, for example.
The spring campaign. Yeah.
Yes. What makes the province so special in terms of tourism compared to other parts of our country?
Yeah, look, like we said, we have the best climate, in the country. As we go into our spring campaign, that's where, those areas are becoming green. That's where you've got your yellow aram lilies, that only grow in some parts of this province. That's where you can go into the Serala mountain, the escarpment, and you enjoy, the beautiful flowers, that you get in this province. And by the way, a lot of people, they don't know that in those escarpment, the Serala area of the province, near Moria, those mountains around there, they also have the protea flowers. And people don't know, if you walk up there in the grassland, actually, during that time, that's when people come to camp in the mountain because it's cool. It's not cold, it's cool. And, the weather is good, it's pleasant. You are able to see trees blossoming, even flowers blossoming in that area. But people who love the citrus, that is the right time. When you come during that time, you get the best. But in Limpopo now, it's an all year round ripening of your citrus. So if you come here now, you get the best oranges, the best avocados, the best bananas. Even during that time, that's when mangoes also come, your lychees, because we have the best, in this province because of the climate. And that's why we're saying, if you are looking to travel and enhance your experience, you come here, you experience the best culture, of the Wavenda people. There is a lake in Venda within the Vembe region, which you are able to see it, in between your legs. You are not allowed just to come and look at it, Lake Fundudzi, because of the history and the legendary stories that you get behind there. So Limpopo is that place of myth. So you come here, you enjoy. If you come during that spring as well, when the rain starts, to fall, you are able to see, some of the beautiful waterfalls, in some of the areas that we have. So yeah, that's why we package, these packages for travel, in between the seasons, because some of the experiences, you cannot experience them now in winter. But in terms of the climate, we have the best. That's why Palabora is a town of two summers. You have got the real summer and you have got the mild summer, which is now.
Man, that is so beautiful and so much to explore. I really want us to move into and segue our conversation, Mr. Ngobeni, into partnerships. The agency's mandate is now inclusive of destination trade and investment promotion. So I'd like you to speak to that. How can you expand on what that means for tourism and business within the province of Limpopo?
Yeah, it means a lot. That's why the Premier of the province paint a picture that if you want to invest in a place where you'll get your returns, come and invest in Limpopo, because we are in a business investment friendly province. So when you look at various areas, it's underdeveloped. But when you look at the road infrastructure into Limpopo, very good. We are the gateway to Africa, from Johannesburg coming to Limpopo and going either, whether you want to go to Botswana or you want to go to Zambia through Zimbabwe. The roads are good. And connectivity as well. We're working on it in terms of airlift. So what we want to look at now, we want to enhance our airlift. We want to attract investment so that we make our international airport, operates like your King Shaka, like your OR Tambo and the Cape Town International Airport, because it has an international license. But we are not there yet. We want to make this a cargo hub, in Southern Africa, connecting to Africa. Yes, and that is one area of investment that we need. But also, we are producing a lot. We have got rich mineral deposits in Limpopo. You can speak of platinum, of gold. We don't want people to come and extract, those minerals and go and beneficiate outside. We want to make sure that we develop manufacturing plants. That's why we have got the 2 SEZ, your Fita Home Tubatse industrial park, which soon will become an SEZ, and also the Musina Makado, which there were some delays, but now that the land issue has been finalized, the minister has transferred the land and it has been finalized. Now we are looking for real investors to come and invest in that area. Very rich, with mineral deposits. But that is not the only thing. We're also looking into agriculture. All the produce that we have, we're speaking about the citrus fruits. Limpopo has got, or it produces the best potatoes. We don't want just to export or send out those potatoes raw as they are. We want to attract investors to come and invest so that we can develop a beneficiation hub, or where they can produce various products out of those potatoes. Not only that, avocados. We signed last year an agreement with China. So currently we are exporting avocados into China, but we want to produce those products. You know that avocado is good for facials.
Wow.
We want to do that. Yes.
Beautiful.
Limpopo Premier, Honorable Premier always say the reason why she is the way she is because she grew up applying avocado on her face.
Oh man, I love
also,
it.
Also naturally, we produce abundance of marula fruits.
Right.
That produces the amarula liqueur. We've worked with CSIR just to help us to produce other products. We want to produce those products, but we need to attract investors to come and invest in the production plants, in that area in the north, around the Kruger National Park, and also the villages around there. But when we do all of that, we are going to create jobs. We've got a lot of people who are producing various products. Others, they need people who will partner with them in trade, whether they can then export or they can produce, in our province. We want to make sure that we encourage all of those. And in terms of those guys who are into trade, we have put a plan together on the 26th and the 27th of June. We want to bring all the people who are producing either wines or various kind of fruits, your moringas, various things in the province. We want to bring them together so that we create a profile for them and put all those products into our website, because we just started with this function on the 1st of April. So we want to make sure that all these products that we are producing in Limpopo, be it out of your creative arts, those potteries that people are creating in the villages, or people that are into sculpture making, in the province. We have produced a lot of them in this province. So we want to make sure that all of those guys, they are in our website. They can be accessible. If you go into our website in July, you'll find that Limpopo Tourism Agency has got a special web page, that has got a database of all those people, either areas of investment or those people who are producing certain products in the province. So that's what we are doing in terms of the expanded mandate. We want to go out there and market this destination as a destination of tourism, a destination that you can come and invest, and also make sure that you make business, but also create the much needed jobs, in the province, but also help those guys who are producing so that they can get a market.
Sure. Mr. Ngubeni, I didn't expect this. I really did not expect that. I think for me, what's so beautiful about what you are saying is, I mean, you speak of the extended mandate. The role of tourism, the role that tourism plays in economic development in the Limpopo province. Looking at tourism as a multi-development sector. You mentioned agriculture, you mentioned trade, the trade route, the airport. I mean, so many opportunities that I just did not anticipate. So thank you for this hard work. So many opportunities. Yeah, just
thanks
wonderful.
Very much, and to the listeners. Yeah.
No, 100%.
If they want to invest, Limpopo is the place to be.
Yes, and just on that
if you
note
are looking for partnership. Yeah.
100%.
Yes.
On that call for investors, I want to reiterate that with you, that investors do need to come on board. This is definitely worthwhile, especially when we look at the broader goals of the Department of Economic Development, Environment and
Yes.
Tourism working together to really make this a success. But as we wrap up, Mr. Nkubeni, let's talk about just in finality, where people can go to find more information about the winter campaign, so that they can stay connected with what is happening with the Limpopo Tourism Agency, as it were.
Yeah, you log on to our website, www.golimpopo.com. We have got the packages there. After the MEC has unveiled them, we click the button and the packages are there already.
Wonderful.
So you're able to book the specials that, the industry has brought together.
Mm-hmm. Okay,
Yes.
so it's really that simple. Just go online. The internet is truly a gift. And if you want to find out more, just go on the Limpopo Tourism Agency website, find the packages, start planning your visit to the Limpopo province. And I think if you're already in South Africa, really, there's no excuse. Okay, just book a getaway.
No
and
excuse.
Absolutely none. And go out and enjoy. Mr. Ngumeni, thank you so much once again for your time. And we're looking forward to what the agency is going to be doing, going forward.
Thanks very much.
Heartlines. Taking you into the night with love stories, fresh music, and inspiring voices from across Africa. Africa is a story, a living, breathing, ever-evolving masterpiece. And for over 5 decades now, one voice has told it like no other. Channel Africa. More than just a broadcaster, Channel Africa is the pulse of the continent, African-led, African-run, and deeply rooted in its heritage. It's the only international station that speaks to Africa in its own voices: English, Kiswahili, Chinyanja, French, and Portuguese. The languages that unite 1 billion people. We have been there through every shift, every milestone, and every triumph. Not just reporting history, but shaping the conversations that define Africa's future. For brands, media planning, and advertisers, Channel Africa is more than just a platform. It's an opportunity. With 25 compelling shows covering current affairs, sports, business, music, and lifestyle, we deliver an engaging Pan-African audience ready to connect, invest, and act. Multi-award winning, internationally recognized, digitally accessible across the globe. When Africa speaks, the world listens, and Channel Africa makes sure of it. For business, for culture, for Africa, partner with Channel Africa, because Africa's voice is the future. Africa is a story, a living, breathing, ever-evolving masterpiece. And for over 5 decades now, one voice has told it like no other. Channel Africa. More than just a broadcaster, Channel Africa is the pulse of the continent, African-led, African-run, and deeply rooted in its heritage. It's the only international station that speaks to Africa in its own voices: English, Kiswahili, Chinyanja, French, and Portuguese. The languages that unite 1 billion people. We have been there through every shift, every milestone, and every triumph. Not just reporting history, but shaping the conversations that define Africa's future. For brands, media planning, and advertisers, Channel Africa is more than just a platform. It's an opportunity. With 25 compelling shows covering current affairs, sports, business, music, and lifestyle, we deliver an engaging Pan-African audience ready to connect, invest, and act. Multi-award winning, internationally recognized, digitally
Midnight in
accessible.
Central African Time. Kabzada Small alongside Young Stunner and Mtunzi with this one titled Imitandazo, The Prayers. Beautiful conversation there as we caught up with the CEO of Limpopo Tourism Agency, that is Mr. Moses Ngubeni, and we looked at the launch of the 2025 winter campaign, and of course discussing this launch, the much anticipated winter campaign, and its effects on tourism, how it's going to attract people outside the spheres of the African continent, how it will reel in more local travel, a more domestic travel, if you will. And I thought that to be very interesting. Before that, we had a conversation with none other than Pat Mahlangu, who is the brilliant mind behind Top 16 Youth Brand Awards. And he was telling us, firstly, just giving definition to the word brand. More often than not, we think, well, it's this pretty symbolic, experience of what is meant to be a service or product. But he showed us then how these are correlated to the service and the product offerings that are behind the brands. And so we discussed the Top 16 Youth-Owned Brands Awards. And this, of course, being a platform to build, honor legacy, celebrate innovation, and amplify youth voices. He also spoke about the necessity for partnership and the importance of acknowledging youth-owned businesses in order to grow the economies of the African continent. Those two conversations are what we had today for you. Hopefully you enjoyed them. Find us on WhatsApp. Tell us your thoughts and views. Perhaps you have commentary saying, hey, Sheila, I didn't catch the conversation, but this is what I think. +276 406 9126. Coming up next is Mara's touch on the Afro Republic. We'll catch up with him in just a short bit. For now, let's keep you entertained with some music.
Heartlines bring you fresh perspectives about love after dark with Sheila Ndikumana.
London.
Another banger.
Come here, wait till the water you. Green body make I rock, yeah. I know you senior me. I get the money pass your papa. Wait till you want way I know feel do for you. Why you want the booga one? Share you be kiss than any. You better drop your body, I'm a sucker. Suffer with this body, make we run, I'm on a low key. Baby, you know me. They get us to go move where you no go. Green, come make a drive your, come make a drive this your jalo. Please, baby, allow me. Tip you off with the alawi. See body, oh. See body, oh. Egg by me, oh. Boss in my bololo, boss in my bololo. Please help me, oh, me I don't jam waiting, but come here waiting the water.
Africa is a story, a living, breathing, ever-evolving masterpiece. And for over 5 decades now, one voice has told it like no other. Channel Africa. More than just a broadcaster, Channel Africa is the pulse of the continent. African-led, African-run, and deeply rooted in its heritage. It's the only international station that speaks to Africa in its own voices. English, Kiswahili, Chinyanja, French, and Portuguese. The languages that unite 1 billion people. We have been there through every shift, every milestone, and every triumph. Not just reporting history, but shaping the conversations that define Africa's future. For brands, media planning, and advertisers, Channel Africa is more than just a platform, it's an opportunity. With 25 compelling shows covering current affairs, sports, business, music, and lifestyle, we deliver an engaging Pan-African audience ready to connect, invest, and act. Multi-award winning, internationally recognized, digitally accessible across the globe. When Africa speaks, the world listens, and Channel Africa makes sure of it. For business, for culture, for Africa. Partner with Channel Africa because Africa's voice is the future. Africa is a story, a living, breathing, ever-evolving masterpiece. And for over 5 decades now, one voice has told it like no other. Channel Africa. More than just a broadcaster, Channel Africa is the pulse of the continent, African-led, African-run, and deeply rooted in its heritage. It's the only international...
Eyes on my neck, eyes on my wrist. Many days I never sleep. Every day I'm chasing good life. Roller coaster, never tire. Sender, you wish me bad. Sender, I never come down going higher. Johnny Sisi, load down, cash up, cash out. Only maga, bill small money, ball out. Usain Bolt, run now. You get the show clients, lock 'em. If you no get money, leave 'em. EFC symbol, Japa, Johnny Sisi, load down, cash up, cash out. Only maga, bill small money, ball out. Usain Bolt, run now. You get the show clients, lock 'em. If you no get money, leave 'em. EFC symbol, Japa. Yeah, let you go. Hey, come on, let's take some money. Let you go. Come on, let's take some money. Toba go. Blacka for me, to them and chase. Them and face.
Well, everybody anyway, now we actually make you tell me. One more dog see you, one other dog see cold tag with story. I'm a gun, you're so she look like money to look at the neck. When you talk, you look over, kick low, go. Profession, share up, cool over, come.
Every day I'm chasing good life. Roller coaster, never
hustler, come on. I'm a Johnny Sisi. I don't know them. If you check out, you go know say na confirma. Oh yeah, Chichi, Shoba Tony pẹ̀lú Kiki. Pẹ́sà, àbọ̀mọ̀ ojú wa ìdí. Àlàyé sọ ní pros, ariwo ti fẹ́ moriwo. Ó yá pokoli, àwọn ilé wọn máa ń gbé bọ́jú.
Eyes on my neck, eyes on my wrist. Many days I never sleep. Eyes on my neck, eyes on my wrist. For money I never sleep, mommy I take the risk. Blacka for me area. Toba go me jack by them cashier. I want to meet them carnival. Oh my calo you every carnival. Mado, baddest. I want to me bado, baddest. This place on Mr. Loda. Toba ESCC Japa. Johnny Sisi, load down, cash up, cash out. Only maga, bill small money, ball out. Mado, baddest. I want to me bado, baddest. Usain Bolt, gone now. You get the show clients, lock 'em. Blacka for me area. Toba go me jack by them cashier. I want to meet them.
Bella Shmurda on this one alongside Zlatan and Lincoln, titled Cash Up. Before that, we had Rema coming in with Charm. It is 10 minutes before the top of the hour. Time for us to make way in room for Morris Touch of the Afro Republic. But before we do that, we touch base with Morris, who's broadcasting live from our Bulawayo studios. Morris, good evening to you.
Sheila, it's good not to see you.
Wow, Morris, and until you can see me, you're going to keep on doing this thing.
Yeah, you're hiding yourself.
Not even. Listen, we're working on that. We're working on that as the SA team. We'll make sure, Morris, that we have a separate camera so that you can see the studio. How's that?
It's beautiful. I'll hold you to that. Please
don't. Let's talk about what's going on the show this morning.
Yesterday we just touched on a very one would want to call it a very sensitive topic, especially when it comes to musicians that we have in the continent of Africa coming into a musical space, and there you are just loaded with loads and loads of money. You don't know what to do with the money, and the expectations are so high from those that are following you. They expect you to live a certain way, but sometimes the money that you're making does not equate the life that you want to live. But because they have a certain mindset as far as how these celebrities or how these musicians should live, so much pressure is piled on musicians. So yesterday we touched just the surface, and we're going to continue talking about that. And along that, we have fantastic music. I can tell you, it's a show that is packed 3 hours of non-stop continuous Afro banging tunes till the hour from 12 to 3. I can also tell you that we still do our connection point. That's between 10 to 2, 10 to 3, and 3 o'clock. Basically, that's Afro Republic this morning, 12 to 3 a.m.
We look forward to that, Morris. Until you touch base, please do take care.
Do take care of yourself, Sheila.
The voice of Morris Touch on the Afro Republic. Again, between midnight and 3 a.m. is when you can catch him. From the team and I, it has been a pleasure keeping you company this evening. We'll do this again tomorrow on a beautiful Wednesday. That is between 10 and midnight. For now, cheers.
Heartlines. Your late night window into Africa's deep conversations.
Tunkara Jiggy on the beat.
Ni barikatila kirite diaila. Muso chala jabali de kirite diaola. Mogo barikabane kiri mandela ndoni. Eki se wala. Samani mene